So today I'm reviewing Boruto episode 247, and the title of this episode is titled for Kagura. So starting off, we find out that Funomoshi's team has lost many of its men due to the battle against Team Kagura, which shows that they weren't just playing around. We also see that the villagers are still reeling over Kagura's death, but are helping to rebuild the village, which shows their dedication as a people. Moving on, we find out that the village's food supply was also destroyed, as if the situation couldn't get any worse. But here we see again Sarada having to take charge of a difficult situation. And as I said in my previous videos, I said the writers are really pushing for Sarada's character in this arc to showcase how well she is as a captain. Moving on, we see Dinky telling Team Sarada, which is what we're gonna call it now, that Team 5 will go and look for food. And what stood out to me was when he told them that in order to prioritize the ambush, there's a possibility that the enemy may avoid the village, which is exactly what Funomoshi's subordinate was mentioning to Funomoshi, showing that Team 5, specifically Dinky, are definitely thinking ahead. And when I see instances like these, it definitely shows me that these aren't the same kids that you saw in the Boruto anime in 2017. These guys are much more experienced and mature. Also, we see that Sarada is the one who is basically the level-headed one, as we get the shot where we see Boruto saying that they should make the first move, then Botan suggesting that if they all leave in search of the enemy, they should find them. But we see Sarada, and I can't stop saying it, but she's definitely the team leader, and she does take charge right here, and I really like that. Moving on, we see that Lord Aoyumi is big mad as Izari tells him that Tenma has died. Also, we find out that Sirin is on the brink of death, and we get this shot of Ikeda. And when I saw this shot, immediately it came to me that Ikeda might be the secret weapon for this war, as he might just use his abilities to aid the Fanato, as he might resent the Land of Water and Team Sarada for hurting and possibly killing his sister. We also see that Izari is being stripped of his position, as his plan has been a failure thus far, and Aoyumi isn't having any more of it. Also, Aoyumi makes mention that he is now going to take command, as he informs the Fanato that he will be calling off the ambush and sends a message to Funomoshi as well. All while Izari has to just stand by and take orders, showing who is really boss. And I wouldn't be surprised if Izari betrays Aoyumi and tries to take over the Fanato. It also seems like Boruto will be the next target, as they have found out that he was involved in Sirin's incident. Moving on, we see that the village has offered up its last amount of food to Team Sarada, and as Team Sarada is about to start eating, they find out from Kawaki that the villagers have decided to forego eating for their sakes, and this was kind of a sad moment, as how would you feel knowing that you ate the last of the village's food? Especially when the two kids ran past and their mom told them, "I told you not to come over here." But of course, being who Team Sarada are, we know they wouldn't eat as well. Moving on, we find out a bit more about Hibichigo's backstory, and I have to say it's really sad and touching at the same time. Also, I think seeing this backstory reminds me that sometimes all a person needs is encouragement. Here we have Hibichigo, who basically grew up spending a lot of time in garbage heaps, and no matter what she did, she was never praised. But one day a rogue shinobi showed up and tried to kill her, and she killed him, and I really love how she demonstrated that slice to metal. She really has an expressive side to her, and when the men pursuing the man who attacked Hibichigo found out that she had taken care of the man, they praised her, which led her to becoming a shinobi, showing that probably if someone had praised her sewing abilities back when she was little, probably she would have taken a different path. And I think that's the same thing with people who join gangs, as the only person in the world who will show them love and praise are the person in that gang. So that's why it's important that you encourage persons to do their best, as you never know what it can do. And I did like that Metal did tell her that he had never seen anyone sew better than her in his life, which is probably the first time Hibichigo has ever gotten praise for her sewing skills or anything in general, different than killing, and I am all for it. Moving on, we see two of the kids from the village, and they're telling Team Sarada about trees far beyond the village towards the mountains, which supposedly bears fruit. And at first Kawaki decides that he will go with them to check it out. as it's their best bet on food right now. But Iwade decides that it would be better for he and Dinky to go, as Kawaki is more valuable in terms of helping in defending the village if the enemy comes, which I couldn't agree with more. It did make me chuckle when I saw Iwabe and Dinky running with the kids on their back. Also, from afar we see that the enemy is possibly in that direction as well. Moving on, we see Boruto and Kawaki at Kagura's grave, still hurting over what happened, as also promising to take down Funomashi. Moving on, we see that Iwabe, Dinky, and the two kids have arrived to where the fruits are, but are ambushed by Funomashi's men, and I have to say, something doesn't look right with Funomashi's men. But I do think it's because of the battle earlier, which is strange because we can see that Team Sarada seems to have recovered much better. Lastly, we see that Funomoshi has gotten the message from Lord Ariumi to call off the ambush, but Funomoshi is dead set on getting revenge for Sirin, and decides to disobey Oriumi's orders and proceeds with the initial plan, seemingly hinting, as I said, at Boruto being the next target. And that's where the episode ends. Overall, I thought this was a good episode. Really looking forward to seeing what happens in the next. But that's all I had to say. Please like and subscribe if you want more content like this. Thanks for watching.